You ever see a wildfire? How it roars and dances, makes the air crackle with the promise of destruction and rebirth? That's how it started for me. This is a private controlled burn on private property. Ma'am, you're trespassing and I need you to remove yourself and your golf cart immediately. My voice was steady, flat as the horizon, something you learn in 30 years of military service, where emotion is a liability, not a tool. But the woman in front of me, she was pure, unfiltered emotion, wrapped tight in a pastel pink polo with the Whispering Pines Estates logo, cheeks blazing, rage pouring off her so hot it clashed with the green calm of my woods. Karen. I'd never met her before, but when she jabbed that manicured finger at my fire, shrieking about smoke and covenants, I understood. This was her kingdom, and she was here to defend it. Smoke's a nuisance, a hazard. Section 7, subsection B, atmospheric pollutants, she screamed, drowning out the peaceful crackle of flames and the distant song of birds. I wanted to laugh, almost did. Instead, I stepped forward, let my shadow fall over her and her ridiculous little chariot. Ma'am, your covenants mean less than nothing out here. This is Blackwood timber, 500 acres, never part of your subdivision. Now get off my land. She puffed up, president of the HOA, like that meant she ruled the whole county. I have a duty to protect property values. Your wilderness is a direct threat. I'll fine you, a significant one. And if I see this fire again, I'll have a sheriff out here to arrest you for reckless endangerment. With a spray of pine needles and dirt, she spun her golf cart away, but not before promising, "You have no idea who you're dealing with, mister. I run this place." And just like that, she disappeared in her kingdom of manicured pear trees, leaving me in the scent of pine, smoke, and a fight I never wanted. But I knew right then, she had no idea who she was dealing with either. That, friend, was the opening shot. You've ever tangled with an HOA president drunk on power? Drop a comment, tell me your story, because you'll want to see where this one goes. Now, let me tell you how a single sheet of paper became my Declaration of Independence. My name's Jack Sterling, Colonel, retired, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. For 30 years, I built things to last, often where the world wanted to tear them down. When I retired, I wanted the opposite, peace, space, land. So I found it, a 500-acre tract of longleaf pine, owned by the same family for a century. My slice of heaven, a living ecosystem I meant to steward, not subdivide. I mapped out a simple plan: sustainable harvesting, prescribed burns to restore native grass, and leaving a legacy for whoever came after. My land bordered a state highway, more timber tracks, and on the east, whispering pines, brand new, sterile, perfect. When I bought it, my lawyer was clear. The plats, deeds, records all showed my land as completely separate, not encumbered, not included, not theirs. For a year, it was peaceful. I'd work the woods, wave at joggers 100 yards away. They'd wave back. Neighborly enough. But I'd misjudged. Karen was just the tremor. The earthquake arrived by mail 3 days later. A heavy envelope, the HOA logo embossed in gold. Inside, a letter, heavy paper, all threats and legalese, signed with a flourish by Karen Miller, HOA president. 3 violations: unapproved landscaping, the control burn, creation of a public nuisance, smoke, and failure to maintain aesthetic appeal. My forest, apparently, offended her sensibilities. Attached, a bill for $1,250, with fines doubling every month unpaid. At first, I laughed. It was like getting a speeding ticket from a toddler on a tricycle. But as I read the letter again, the laughter faded. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a calculated land grab, a bully's move. So I walked into my office, looked at my old commission on the wall, my retirement certificate, a photo of a bridge my unit built under fire. Karen Miller just handed me a new mission. I grabbed a binder, Operation Whispering Pines. 3-hole punched her letter and invoice, snapped them in. This was bigger than smoke. It was about rights, how far they go, where they end, and what you do when someone tries to steal them. Karen was about to learn that lesson, the hard way. Within 2 weeks, another envelope, this time with a telephoto shot of some deadfall I'd cleared for a fire break. Fine, $300. Improper storage of debris. Another letter, 3-hole punched, added to the binder. Next week, visual pollution. My wild tree line offended her community standards. Another $500 fine. The total? Over $2,000. The humor was long gone, replaced by cold, methodical anger. She was weaponizing taste, trying to beat me with aesthetics. Then she escalated. A call from the county code office complained about a fire hazard. Let me guess, I said. Complaint from Karen Miller? The officer's sigh was all I needed. Yeah, she's a frequent flyer. I explained my plan, my certifications, offered to email it all. He closed the case within an hour. Thanked me for my professionalism. I printed that email, put in the binder. Now, I had proof, not just of harassment, but of false reporting to the government. That night, I downloaded the HOA's rules. Buried in 120 pages of petty tyranny, I found it, the boundary clearly defined, backed by county records. Next morning, I drove to the records office, paid for a certified plat map. There it was, the line. Her kingdom ended. Mine began. I had the shield and sword I needed. But Karen didn't back down. If the county wouldn't bend, she'd invent her own authority. I saw a surveyor's truck parked on the road, 2 men marking a line, right across my land. When I confronted them, the older man handed over a work order signed by Karen. Survey and stake the trail from the road to the clearing. Her attempt to create a fake easement, a foothold for her people on my land. I took pictures, told the surveyors to leave or face trespass charges. They packed up quick. I called my lawyer, Ben Carter, a no-nonsense property attorney. I laid it all out from fines to surveyors. Jack, this is actionable. Malicious trespass, attempted conversion of property, financial liability for the HOA. But don't push yet. Let her dig her own hole. Document everything. Let her burn through HOA money. When it's time, we win this in public, in front of the people whose money she's spending. That's when I switched tactics. I started talking to her victims. A young couple, the Millers, fined for shutters the wrong shade of beige for their kid's tricycle on the porch. I photographed their violation notices, added them to my file. Then Dave, Marine veteran, fined every month for his flagpole being too tall. Karen's lawyer sent him a letter misrepresenting federal law. It's extortion, Jack, but cheaper than fighting. I told him my plan. He was in. The alliance was growing, but I needed more. Mark Miller mentioned Sarah, former HOA treasurer, retired CPA, forced out by Karen. She didn't want to get involved until I left her a folder detailing the fraud, the bogus fines, the forged easement. If you agree this is wrong, you know how to find me. 2 days later, my phone rang. Sarah agreed to meet. She handed me a list of account numbers and passwords, access to the HOA's books. With Sarah's help, I dove in. A mess of vague charges, personal spending hidden as community enhancement, $50,000 a year. I found the $3,500 to the surveyor, the retainer to Karen's lawyer friend, the overpriced printing company run by her brother-in-law. Nearly $100,000 funneled through that black hole over 3 years. 3 weeks before the annual meeting, I had the murder weapon, irrefutable proof. It was time to stop gathering intelligence and start planning the final assault. Ben and I rehearsed the plan. At the meeting, I'd present the plat map, the illegal fines, the trespassing surveyor, all proof of Karen using HOA funds outside her jurisdiction. Dave would follow with his flagpole story, and Mark with his pile of violation notices. When the room was angry, I proposed a special assessment to cover Karen's surveying bill, forcing her to admit she spent their money illegally or to demand they pay for her mistake. We practiced, prepped, braced for every reaction. The night before the meeting, my crew Dave, the Millers, Sarah in the shadows, gathered in my workshop. I laid out the plan, the evidence, the bylaws. We stick to facts. We stay calm. We let Karen implode. They were scared but determined. At the meeting, Karen and her board presided like royalty on a beige throne. I stood, named myself, laid out the facts. Your president spent your money to trespass on my land. Here's the invoice. Here's the map. Here are the fines. The room exploded with outrage. Dave stood, waving his lawyer's letter. Mark added his stack of fines. Others began to shout, telling their own stories. Karen's authority crumbled. I showed the contingency fund pie chart, proposed the special assessment. The crowd howled. Dave climbed a chair and called for a vote of no confidence. Mark seconded. The roar of "I" shook the walls. Karen and her cronies fled, defeated, disgraced, the weight of years lifted in a single vote. That night, the new interim board formed, Dave president, the Millers in key roles. Their first acts? Voiding every fine from the last 2 years, drafting a formal apology to me, hiring a forensic accountant, and authorizing legal action against Karen and anyone else involved in the fraud. Within weeks, the audit revealed over $70,000 misappropriated. The HOA sued Karen. The district attorney opened a criminal investigation. She had to sell her home. Her name became a warning to every HOA in the state. Life settled into a new normal, better than before. The community and my land grew together. A year later, on a cool autumn afternoon, Dave drove up with a gift, his 25-foot flagpole, ready to fly. Kids from the subdivision visited, curious about the forest, the garden, the burn. The old fear was gone, replaced by laughter, color, freedom. That night, I took the thick Operation Whispering Pines binder, full of fines, letters, evidence, and fed it to my wood chipper. The mulch I spread beneath the pines, the last trace of Karen's reign, returned to the earth. Justice organic and complete. And that's how a little war over smoke and trees became a lesson in courage, community, and the quiet power of saying enough. Sometimes the smallest fight is really about something much bigger, about where your rights begin and end, and what you're willing to do to defend them. The line between tyranny and freedom can be as thin as a boundary on a plat map, or as thick as the forest you're willing to protect. So, where do you draw the line? Ever had to take on a bully with too much power? Drop your story in the comments. Let's hear about your HOA battles, your own taste of justice, and what you think really separates right from wrong when the rules get weaponized. And if you think karma was served, hit that like, because out here, sometimes the only law that matters is the one you stand up for yourself.